Hi everyone, welcome back to the channel. I'm obviously Aidan.
I'm Gaynor.
And today we have got the most mind-blowing coincidences in history that can't be explained. Looking at these, I don't know, I've never seen any of these before, I don't think. Have you?
Well, I've heard of lightning always strikes twice, so 3 times.
Oh,
That's the only
that
one.
can't be explained, that can it? Let's get into this.
King Ombberto and his doppelganger. In late July 1900, King Ombberto I of Italy decided to eat at a small restaurant in Monza. When the restaurant owner came to serve him, both men were shocked. The owner looked exactly like the king, so much so that they could have been twins. As they talked, they discovered even more strange connections. They learned they had been born on the same day, in the same year, in the same town. They were both named Ombberto. The restaurant owner had married a woman named Margherita, the same name as King Ombberto's queen. Both men even had sons named Vittorio. The king was amazed by all these similarities and invited the restaurant owner to an event the next day. But on July 29, 1900, the restaurant owner was killed in a shooting accident. That very same evening, King Ombberto I was told about his double's death. Just hours later, while attending a public event, the king himself was shot and killed by an anarchist named Gaetano Bresci. Edgar Allan Poe's Richard Parker prediction.
Hang on, what the hell? That's pretty mental.
That is what I've seen. I think they might be Scottish, but it's 2 guys with ginger hair that look exactly alike, and they've done like a DNA test, and they don't have the same like DNA, but they look like twins.
I think I remember, weren't they like ice hockey players or something?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think they're probably American then, or Canadian.
Yeah.
Have you ever met someone that looks exactly like you?
No.
No, I've not either.
Nobody looks nothing like me.
In 1838, author Edgar Allan Poe published The Narrative of Arthur Gordon Pym of Nantucket, his only complete novel. In this dark tale, 4 survivors of a shipwreck find themselves starving in a lifeboat. Desperate, they draw lots to decide who will be sacrificed for food. The unlucky victim is a sailor named Richard Parker, who is killed and eaten by his shipmates. This could have been just another of Poe's eerie tales, if not for what happened 46 years later. In 1884, a yacht called the Mignonette sank in the South Atlantic. 4 crew members survived and drifted in a small lifeboat for many days with no food or water. 3 of the men decided to kill and eat the 4th member of their crew, a 17-year-old cabin boy named Richard Parker. When the 3 survivors were rescued and returned to England, they were put on trial for murder and sentenced to 6 months in prison. During the trial, the eerie similarity to Poe's story stunned the public. Poe could not have known this would happen, as he died in 1849, 35 years before this incident took place. Edwin Booth and Robert Todd Lincoln. In the winter of 1864 to 1865, something incredible happened at a train station in Jersey City. Robert Todd Lincoln, the oldest son of President Abraham Lincoln, was waiting on a crowded platform when the train started moving. As people pushed forward, Robert fell into the gap between the platform and the moving train. Just in time, someone grabbed Robert's collar and pulled him to safety. This hero was Edwin Booth, a famous actor and supporter of the Union, the side that remained loyal to the U.S. government during the Civil War. Robert knew who the actor was and thanked him, but Edwin didn't know he had just saved the president's son. Edwin only found out later through a friend who worked with Robert. This knowledge would soon take on a tragic significance for Edwin. Just a few months after this rescue, on April 14, 1865, Edwin's younger brother, John Wilkes Booth, shot and killed President Lincoln at Ford's Theater. Think about that for a moment. One brother saved a Lincoln while the other killed a Lincoln. The story gets even stranger. Robert Todd Lincoln was around for 2 more presidential shootings. He was nearby when President Garfield was shot in 1881 and when President McKinley was killed in 1901. This pattern bothered him so much that he later refused to attend presidential events. Tsutomu Yamaguchi's double atomic survival. In August 1945, a 29-year-old Japanese engineer named Tsutomu Yamaguchi was on a business trip to Hiroshima. On the morning of August 6th, he was walking to the shipyards when he noticed an American bomber flying overhead. Suddenly, at 8:15 a.m., a bright flash lit up the sky. The first atomic bomb had gone off about 1.9 miles from where he stood. The blast knocked Yamaguchi to the ground, damaged his earring, and badly burned the left side of his body. Despite his injuries, he found shelter, spent the night in the ruined city, and made his way to the train station the next day. Yamaguchi was heading home to Nagasaki. On August 9th, still wrapped in bandages and in pain, Yamaguchi went to work in Nagasaki. As he was telling his boss what had happened in Hiroshima, another bright flash lit up the sky. The second atomic bomb had just been dropped over Nagasaki, and again, Yamaguchi was about 1.9 miles from the blast. The building he was in probably saved him from more serious injuries, though he was exposed to radiation from both bombs. Yamaguchi is the only person the Japanese government officially recognizes as having survived both atomic bombings. Even after being exposed to radiation.
That is so unlucky,
Yeah,
that.
I know.
Being caught in both of them. Jesus.
Twice, he recovered and lived until he was 93, dying in
Fairs.
2010 from stomach cancer. Archduke Ferdinand's assassin and the wrong turn. On June 28, 1914, Archduke Franz Ferdinand, heir to the Austro-Hungarian Empire, visited Sarajevo with his wife Sophie. A group of Serbian nationalists had planned to kill him that day, and their first attempt failed when a member of the group threw a bomb at the Archduke's car, but it bounced off and exploded behind it, injuring people in the one behind. After that attack failed, the motorcade continued to the town hall for a planned meeting. The assassination plot seemed to have failed, and one of the would-be killers, a 19-year-old named Gavrilo Princip, gave up and went to a small food shop on Franz Josef Street to get something to eat. Then something crazy happened. After leaving the town hall, the Archduke decided to visit those hurt by the earlier bomb. His driver, not knowing Sarajevo well, took a wrong turn onto Franz Josef Street. When the driver realized his mistake, he stopped the car to turn around, right in front of the shop where Princip was standing. Princip couldn't believe his luck. The target he had given up on was now just feet away and not moving. He pulled out his gun, stepped forward, and fired twice, hitting the Archduke in the neck and his wife Sophie in the stomach. Both died within minutes. This started a chain of events that led straight to World War I. Soon, all of Europe was pulled into the conflict that would claim over 20 million lives. A single wrong turn changed the course of the entire 20th century. The Jim twins' parallel lives. In 1979, two 39-year-old men named Jim met for the first time in Ohio. Jim Lewis and Jim Springer were identical twins, separated at just 4 weeks old and adopted by different families. What makes their story remarkable are the strange coincidences they discovered about their separate lives. Both Jims, without knowing about the other, had named their boys James. Both Jims grew up with dogs they had named Toy. In school, both were good at math, but had trouble with spelling, and both enjoyed working with wood as their favorite hobby. The coincidences in their adult lives were even more surprising. Each Jim married a woman named Linda, divorced her, and later married a second woman named Betty. Lewis had named his son James Allen, while Springer had named his son James Allen, almost identical names with just one letter different. The similarities didn't stop there. Both men smoked the same brand of cigarettes, drank the same beer, drove the same type of car, a Chevrolet, and even took vacations to the same beach in Florida. When scientists learned about the Jim twins, they were amazed. While some similarities could be explained by their identical genes, many others, like the names of their wives, children, and pets, seemed beyond explanation. The Jim twins became famous as part of one of the first major studies on twins raised apart. The Eben brothers' identical deaths.
Just press pause, because I know with twins there's a lot of similarities if they're not brought up together. And I was out one day and I was talking to somebody and they said to me, "Your voice sounds exactly like a girl I know." And it turned out that it was my dad's a twin. It was my dad's twin's daughter, but we had the same voice.
Really?
Yeah.
Quite interesting,
Yeah.
isn't it?
In July 1974, 17-year-old Neville Eben was riding his moped along a street when he was hit and killed by a taxi in Hamilton, Bermuda. Almost exactly 1 year later, in July 1975, an even more unbelievable tragedy hit the same family. Neville's brother, Erskine Eben, also 17 years old at the time, was riding the very same moped along the same street in Hamilton when he was hit by a taxi and killed. But not just any taxi. It was the exact same taxi, with the same driver, that had killed his brother the year before. Even more surprisingly, the taxi was carrying the same passenger who had been in the vehicle during the first accident. The Green Berry Hill murder case. In 1678, a mysterious murder shocked London. Sir Edmund Barry Godfrey, a well-respected judge, disappeared one October evening. His body was found days later in a ditch on Greenberry Hill, on the edge of what is now Primrose Hill in London. He had been strangled and stabbed with his own sword. The murder became a huge scandal in England. Sir Edmund had recently taken the testimony of a man named Titus Oates, who claimed there was a popish plot, a Catholic plan to kill King Charles II. When Sir Edmund was found dead, many thought he had been killed by Catholics to keep him quiet about what he knew. After looking into the case, 3 men were arrested for the murder: Robert Greene, Henry Berry, and Lawrence Hill. All 3 were found guilty and put to death for the crime. Here's the amazing coincidence. The victim's middle name was Berry. He was found dead on Greenberry Hill, and the 3 killers were named Greene, Berry, and Hill. The 3 lightning strikes on one family. In 1899, in a small town near Taranto in southern Italy, a terrible accident happened. A man named Rolla Primarda was standing in the backyard of his family home during a storm when he was suddenly struck by lightning and killed. About 30 years later, around 1929, lightning struck Rolla's son when he was standing in the same spot in the family's backyard during a storm. Just like his father before him, he died instantly. The family and neighbors were shocked by this incredible repeat tragedy. But the story gets even more unbelievable. On October 8th, 1949, Rolla Primarda's grandson, who was named after his grandfather, was standing in that exact same spot in the family
Why are they
yard.
all standing in
Yeah.
this spot?
And amazingly, a lightning bolt struck him too. The third generation of the family had been killed in exactly the same way, in exactly the same place.
That's just
3
eerie.
generations.
Right, so basically you're saying that they probably know how it's happened to the other people as well.
Yeah.
They were standing outside during a storm and lightning hit them, so they've both done the exact same thing.
Why would you stand in that spot?
Literally, yeah.
Of men from the same family, all killed by lightning while standing in the same spot over a 50-year period. The chances of being struck by lightning once in a lifetime are already very small. The chances of 3 related men being struck and killed in the same place over 3 generations are almost impossible to calculate. The Primarda family case was reported in
pretty
newspapers and later included in books about strange coincidences. Mark Twain and Halley's Comet. Mark Twain was born on November 30th, 1835, the same night that Halley's Comet was passing by Earth. The famous comet passes by Earth roughly once every 76 years. Throughout his life, Twain was interested in this link to the comet. As he grew older and the comet's return got closer, he began to feel a special connection between his life and the comet. In 1909, when he was 74 years old, Twain made an eerie prediction about his own death. "I came in with Halley's Comet in 1835. Twain said. "It is coming again next year, and I expect to go out with it." Twain's prediction came true. On April 21st, 1910, Mark Twain died of a heart attack at his home in Connecticut. This was just one day after Halley's Comet reached its closest point to the sun on that visit, becoming visible from Earth once again. The comet appeared most recently in 1986 and is scheduled to appear again in 2061. Adams and Jefferson dying on
cool.
July 4th. On July 4th, 1826, John Adams, the second president of the United States, and Thomas Jefferson, the third president, both died. Even more remarkably, it was the 50th anniversary of the Declaration of Independence. Both men had helped create the Declaration. Jefferson wrote most of it, while Adams was one of its strongest supporters in the Continental Congress. These two founding fathers had once been friends, then became political rivals, and later became friends again in their old age through letters. As Adams was dying at his home in Massachusetts, his last words were, "Thomas Jefferson survives." What he didn't know was that Jefferson had already died hours earlier at his home in Virginia, about 500 miles away. News traveled slowly in 1826, so when many Americans heard about both deaths at the same time, they were amazed by the timing. The coincidence becomes even more surprising when you consider that 5 years later, on July 4th, 1831, James Monroe, the 5th President of the United States, also died. This meant that 3 of the first 5 American presidents all died on July 4th. Robertson's Titanic prediction.
Crazy.
In 1898, 14 years before the Titanic disaster, an American author named Morgan Robertson wrote a story called Futility, or The Wreck of the Titan. This story was about a huge luxury ship called the Titan that sank after hitting an iceberg in the North Atlantic. The similarities between Robertson's fictional story and the real Titanic tragedy that happened in April 1912 are incredible. Robertson's Titan was described as the largest ship of its day at about 800 feet long, very close to the Titanic's 882 feet. Both ships had 3 propellers and could go very fast. The made-up Titan could travel at 25 knots, while the real Titanic was moving at about 22.5 knots when it hit the iceberg. Both ships were called unsinkable, and both had too few lifeboats for everyone on board. Robertson's book even mentioned that the Titan carried as few boats as the law required, which sadly matched the Titanic's situation. Both ships hit an iceberg on the right side while sailing through the North Atlantic in April, and both sank with a huge loss of life. After the real Titanic sank in 1912, Robertson's book became famous again. Many people thought he had somehow predicted the future, but the more likely explanation is that Robertson, who had worked as a sailor with lots of knowledge about ships, simply knew about the safety problems and shipping trends of his time. If you liked this video, subscribe for similar ones.
Yeah, I wouldn't have got on the Titanic if I knew that was a story back in the day.
Well, you don't think it's going to happen, do
No,
you?
obviously not. Yeah, you wouldn't.
My
would you?
granddad, when he was 80, said to me, "I had a dream last night." So I said, "What did you dream about?" He said, "I dreamt that when I'm 94, I'm going to die." I was like, well, that's a bit gruesome, isn't it? Anyway, 94, and he died.
Really?
Yeah.
On his 94th birthday?
No, he was just a bit after that.
Anyway.
Yeah. But,
Interesting stuff, though, right?
yeah. But I do believe in a lot of stuff like this. I think the mind's
Yeah,
a very
it
powerful
is hard
thing.
to, though. Some of the things, it's like, that could easily just be a story someone's made up. But you never know. Could be true.
Yeah,
Could
you
be
don't
true.
know.
I'll have to believe it. Hopefully you guys enjoyed the video. If you did, make sure to like and subscribe for us, please. And we'll catch you on the next one.
Bye.
Cheers.